I want to start with a question. When you apply your blush, what does your face do? Most women, and I mean the overwhelming majority, smile. They make a slightly exaggerated expression, feel the apples of their cheeks round up, and apply the color to that rounded, smiley area. It feels natural. It feels like the right place. It's what they were taught. It's what most tutorials still show. And here is the problem with that. The smile technique was designed for younger skin, when the face is full and the cheekbones are naturally prominent. Blush applied to the apples of the cheeks reads as a fresh, healthy flush. But as the face changes with time, as the skin softens, as the cheeks naturally lose some of their fullness, as the face begins to rely more on the bone structure underneath than on the volume above it, that same apple placement pulls the color downward. It reads low on the face, it visually drags the cheek toward the jaw, and instead of a flush, what you get is a round, heavy-looking cheek that adds apparent weight to the lower face. You didn't do anything wrong. You learned the right technique for a different face. And nobody told you when the face changed enough that the technique needed to change with it. That's what today is about. 7 tiny application changes. Not new products, not a new routine, no shopping required, just 7 shifts in how you apply what you already have. And every single one of them produces a visible, immediate result on the face you have right now. 7 changes. Each one small enough to implement today, significant enough to see in the mirror before you leave the house. I'm flagging 2 things before we get into the list. Change number 4 is the one that produces the biggest visible result in the least amount of time. I'm talking about something that takes 15 seconds and changes how awake and open your eyes look immediately. Not over time, not with a new product. Right now. That's coming at number 4. And change number 7 is the one I saved for last deliberately, because it goes against a habit so deeply embedded that most women don't even realize they're doing it. It involves the direction your hands move when you blend, and it's the difference between makeup that lifts and makeup that settles. We'll get there. Welcome back to Style After 60, where we give you the real technique, not just the trend. Subscribe if this is what you're here for. Let's get into the 7 changes. Change 1. Stop applying foundation all over your face. Start in the center and work outward. Most women apply foundation the same way they always have. A pump of product. Spread it across the whole face. Blend everywhere. Full coverage. Everywhere, every time. Here's what that's doing on mature skin. Makeup artist Amanda Shackleton is direct about this. Apply to the center of the face. This is generally the area where you need more coverage. Don't cover the entire face. The center of the face is where redness concentrates, where pigmentation tends to sit, where evening out the skin tone makes the most visible difference. The perimeter of the face. The temples, the hairline, the jawline, the outer cheeks. Rarely needs the same level of coverage. And when you apply full coverage foundation to areas that didn't need it in the first place, you create a made-up mask effect, where the skin at the perimeter looks coated rather than like skin. Here's the mechanism that makes this specific problem worse after 50. As skin loses elasticity and moisture, full coverage foundation applied to the outer face settles into the fine lines at the temples, the creases near the ears, and the texture along the jaw faster than it would have at 35. By midday, the perimeter of the face carries a heavier, more settled look than the center, creating a visible ring of heavier makeup around the face that wasn't there when you applied it. The fix is center-out application. Start with your product concentrated at the forehead center, nose, center of the cheeks, and chin. Blend outward from each of those points, letting the product thin as it travels toward the perimeter. The center is covered and even. The temples, the hairline, the jaw, barely there, shearing out to almost nothing. The face reads as skin that has been refined at the center, not as a face that's been painted all over. Do this today. On your next application, apply foundation with 5 small dabs. Center forehead, nose, each cheek center, and chin. Blend outward from each point without adding more product. Stop before you reach the temples and jaw. Look at the result. The face will look like you, only more refined, not like makeup. Change 2. Do your eye makeup before your base, not after. This one is a sequence change, not a product change. And it's the kind of thing that sounds small and makes an enormous practical difference. One that most women discover by accident when they run out of time one morning and do their eyes on bare skin, and then wonder why everything looked so much cleaner. Most women apply foundation first, then eyes. The instinct makes sense. You build the base, then add the details on top. The problem is, what happens when you do eye makeup over a finished base? Eyeshadow fallout, liner smudges, and mascara flecks land on the foundation you just applied and require cleanup. That cleanup. Dabbing at the under eye area to remove fallout disturbs the base. Foundation comes off in patches. The under eye concealer that was set lifts. You're now applying your base twice in the most delicate area of your face. Here's what professional makeup artists do instead. Do the full eye. Shadow, liner, mascara. On bare skin or over primer only. Let any fallout land on bare skin under the eye. Then sweep away the fallout cleanly with a dry cotton swab or the edge of a clean beauty sponge. Then apply your foundation and concealer to a completely undisturbed surface. The under eye area is the most delicate skin on the face, 7 times thinner than the rest, and every time you disturb a finished base to clean up eye fallout, you're dragging that thin skin multiple times. Doing eyes first means your under eye foundation goes on exactly once, applied freshly over clean skin with one smooth motion, and never gets disturbed afterward. There's a secondary benefit that I rarely see mentioned. When you do your eyes on bare skin, you can see the actual color of the eye look clearly against your skin tone. Without the base changing how the colors read, this makes blending decisions more accurate. Many women over-apply eyeshadow precisely because they're building on top of foundation, which slightly mutes the color and makes it harder to judge depth. On bare skin, you see the true result. Stacy Knowles confirms this specifically in their 2026 guide for women over 50. Do your eye makeup before your base so you can clean up any fallout without ruining your foundation. Do this today. Next time you sit down to apply makeup, do your complete eye look first. Shadow, liner, mascara. On bare or primed skin. Clean up any fallout under the eye. Then apply your foundation and concealer. Notice whether the under eye area looks cleaner and more precise than usual, and whether the whole routine feels less like a correction process and more like a construction one. Change 3. Stop smiling when you apply blush. Apply to the highest point of the cheekbone and sweep upward. Here it is, the one I opened the hook with. And now that we're here, I want to give you the full mechanism behind why this change makes such a visible difference. When you smile to apply blush, you're applying color to the apple of the cheek, the soft, round part that rounds up when you smile. Here's the problem. When your face relaxes back to its natural resting state, that blush is now sitting lower on the cheek than where you put it. The apple drops. The color reads lower on the face than it appeared in the mirror when you were smiling. On a younger face with strong natural volume in the cheeks, this isn't catastrophic. The apple is still relatively high and the cheekbones are visually prominent anyway. On a more mature face where cheek volume has naturally redistributed and the bone structure is doing more of the visual work, low-placed blush makes the face look heavier and droopier than it actually is. It reads as if the cheek is pulling downward. Because the blush is. Urbanista Image Consulting names this exact problem directly. As your skin starts losing its firmness, you need to start using a different technique. Instead of faking a smile to apply your blush, use it on the highest point of your cheekbone and sweep it upwards towards your temples. The mechanism of the correction is precise, the highest point of the cheekbone. The actual bone ridge you can feel if you press under the outer corner of your eye, sits higher on the face than the apple of the cheek. Blush placed here reflects light at the highest point of the face, which draws the eye upward. Then sweeping the color toward the temple rather than toward the nose creates a diagonal line going upward and outward. And the eye follows that diagonal, reading the face as lifted rather than dragged. Do this today. Find your cheekbone ridge by pressing gently under the outer corner of your eye. That ridge, not the soft part that rounds up when you smile, is where your blush belongs. Apply there and sweep toward your temple. Step back 5 feet from the mirror and notice where your eyes go when you look at your face. If they travel upward toward your cheekbones and eyes, rather than staying on the center of your cheeks, the technique is working exactly as it should. Change 4. Add a nude or white pencil to your lower waterline. Here it is, the 15-second change. The waterline. The inner rim of your lower eyelid, right where the eye meets the lash line, is one of the most powerful tools in the entire makeup kit. And most women over 50 are either ignoring it entirely or using it in a way that makes the eye look smaller, more tired, and more downturned than it actually is. Here's the mechanism. The lower waterline is the boundary between the visible white of the eye and the lower lash line. When that waterline is bare or when it's darkened with a dark pencil, the edge of the eye reads as soft, dark, and close. The eye appears smaller and more closed. A dark waterline can also make the eye look more tired because it adds visual weight at the lower rim, which draws the eye down. When the waterline is lined with a white or nude pencil, that boundary disappears. The eye reads as larger because the visible white of the eye now appears to extend further down, all the way to the lash line rather than stopping at the dark waterline. The eye opens. It reads as brighter, more awake, and more youthful. Professional makeup artist Michelle Spieler recommends this technique specifically for women over 50, confirming it with precise instruction. Use a waterproof pencil with a thin, soft tip. Apply using a magnification mirror, looking slightly down. And for women who want softer results, consider a brown or plum shade rather than stark white. The technique works across all eye colors and skin tones. The effect is immediate. You can see it in the mirror the second you apply it. The additional benefit after 50 is specific, as the eyes naturally change with age. The upper lid may hood slightly, the brow may lower, the eye can appear smaller overall. Anything that opens the eye has an outsized effect on how the whole face reads. The eye is the most expressive feature on the face. An open, bright eye reads the face as awake and energetic. A closed, tired-looking eye does the opposite. Do this today. Find any white, ivory, or nude pencil in your collection. Even a pale eye pencil or brow pencil will work for testing. Apply it along the inner rim of your lower lid. Look in the mirror from a normal distance. Notice whether your eyes look larger and more open. That change, that single line, is the 15-second technique that makeup artists use backstage before every camera. Change 5. Apply mascara from the root, not the tip. This one is purely technique, and it's the difference between mascara that lifts and mascara that spiders. Most women apply mascara by starting at the base of the lashes and swiping upward in a single motion. That feels like applying from the root. But in practice, the wand makes contact with the tips of the lashes first. The lashes are swept into the wand from the tip. And the root gets the least coverage. Here's the correct technique. Place the mascara wand horizontally at the very base of the lashes where they meet the lid. Press gently into the root. Not pushing into the skin, just making solid contact with where the lash actually begins. Then wiggle the wand slightly side to side before drawing it upward. That wiggle deposits product at the root and separates the lashes from their base. The result is lashes that fan from the root rather than from the tip, which means the lift starts where the lash begins, not halfway up. Here's why this matters specifically after 50. As lashes naturally thin and lighten with age, the root, the part that gives the lash its direction and lift, becomes more sparse. Mascara applied to the tips of sparse, thin lashes adds length but does nothing for lift. And the lashes continue to point in whatever direction they naturally fall, which is often straight out or slightly downward. Mascara applied at the root adds product exactly where it can redirect the direction of the lash, upward, before the lash has committed to falling flat. A lash that points upward reflects more light toward the eye. It opens the eye from above, creating the same upward visual draw as a cat eye liner, but softer, more natural, and achievable in 30 seconds with the mascara you already own. Do this today. Instead of swiping through your lashes in one motion, place the wand at the root and wiggle it for 2 seconds before drawing upward. Do one eye the new way and one the old way. Then compare in the mirror. The root wiggle lashes will visibly lift more and clump less. Change 6. Apply blush before your concealer, not after. This is the counterintuitive one, and it's the one that makeup artists use to create the flush that no product quite achieves when applied on top of a finished face. The flush that looks like something your body is doing rather than something you applied. Here's the mechanism. Blush applied to fully set foundation sits on top of the skin, no matter how well you blend it. The eye reads it as a product applied to a surface, because that's exactly what it is. The skin underneath is finished and sealed. The blush is sitting above it. The result is a distinct layer of color that the eye reads as separate from the face beneath it. Blush applied before concealer, directly to bare skin or over primer only, gets partially diffused by the foundation and concealer applied over it. The color is still present. Visible, intentional, exactly where you placed it. But it reads through the foundation rather than on top of it. The Beauty Boy beat describes this mechanism precisely. Applying blush before concealer can create a more natural-looking flush, as if the color is coming from within your skin rather than sitting on top of it. This color from within quality is the difference between a face that reads as made up and a face that reads as alive. It's what naturally flushed skin actually looks like. Not a stripe of color on the surface, but warmth visible through layers of skin. No product can exactly recreate that quality when applied on top of a finished base, but applied beneath the base, it comes very close. Here's the exact sequence for this technique. Apply your primer, apply your cream blush, not powder for this technique, cream or liquid only. To the cheekbone in the upward direction we covered in Change 3. Press or tap it in rather than sweeping, since you want the color deposited cleanly before anything goes over it. Then apply your foundation over the top, using a slightly lighter hand over the cheek area so the blush color shows through. Apply concealer only where you genuinely need it. Spots, redness, under the eyes. The blush you placed beneath the foundation reads as a warmth that belongs to the skin rather than a product sitting on it. The additional benefit for mature skin specifically. Because the blush goes on before the foundation, it never drags on dry or textured skin the way blush applied at the end of a routine can. Mature skin is drier and has more texture than younger skin, and products applied over a full face of makeup on dry skin sometimes grab and streak. Applied to primed skin directly, cream blush melts in cleanly. Do this today. Apply your cream blush before your foundation, on primed or bare skin, and then apply foundation lightly over it. Compare how the color reads now versus when you apply it at the very end. One reads like skin. The other reads like a product. Change 7. Blend everything upward, never downward. The last change. The one I saved. Most women blend in whatever direction feels natural, usually outward and sometimes downward, following the hand's most comfortable motion. When you're finishing foundation at the jaw, the natural motion is downward toward the neck. When you're blending eyeshadow at the outer corner, the natural motion pulls the shadow downward with the hand's weight. When you're buffing powder, the circular motion goes in every direction equally. Every downward motion in your application routine is pulling makeup, and optically, the face itself, in the direction of gravity, the same direction that skin is already moving with age. Here's the mechanism. The face reads the direction of visual lines and transitions. When blush is blended outward and upward, the gradient of color travels toward the temple, and the eye follows it there, upward. When blush is blended outward and downward, the gradient travels toward the jaw, and the eye follows it there, downward. This is not subtle. It's one of the most consistent differences between makeup that makes a face look lifted and makeup that makes a face look heavy, and it's entirely determined by the direction the hand moves during blending. The correction is a discipline, not a new tool. At every blending moment in your routine, foundation at the perimeter, blush, concealer under the eye, eyeshadow at the outer corner, bronzer along the cheekbone. Move the hand upward and outward, not in circles, not downward, upward, toward the temple, toward the brow, away from the jaw. Bobbi Brown has named this directional principle repeatedly across decades of professional work. Cream blush, swept up toward the temples, is how multiple professional sources describe the correct blush technique. The swept up is not incidental, it is the mechanism of the lift. It sounds small. It is small, and it changes the entire reading of the face from across the room. Do this today. Consciously stop your hand every time you're about to blend downward. Redirect it upward. Do your full routine with this single rule. Every blend goes up. Look at the mirror when you're done, and notice whether the face reads differently than it normally does. Not different as in made up differently. Different as in lifted differently. Here's the single idea that connects every one of these 7 changes. Gravity is already pulling. Everything, all day. The face, the skin, the makeup on top of it, all of it is being pulled downward from the moment you leave the house. Every application habit that works with gravity, blending downward. Applying blush to the apple that drops when you relax your face. Placing mascara on tips that hang straight down. Darkening the waterline rim that borders the lower eye, is accelerating a process that's already happening. Every application habit that works against gravity. Center out foundation that thins at the perimeter, upward blush placement, root mascara that lifts, nude waterline that opens, blush before base that reads as coming from within, upward blending at every step, is creating a subtle but consistent counter to the direction the face is already moving. Makeup cannot reverse gravity, but it can stop cooperating with it. That's the only principle worth remembering. 7 applications of the same idea. 7 changes. None of them require new products, all of them available to you today. With what you already own, in the time you already spend, foundation that starts in the center and shears out to nothing at the perimeter, eyes done first so the base goes on fresh and undisturbed, blush placed at the cheekbone and swept upward, not to the apple, never downward. A nude or white pencil on the lower waterline that opens the eye in 15 seconds. Mascara pressed in at the root and wiggled before drawing up. Blush applied before foundation so the color reads as coming from within the skin. And every blend, at every step, moving upward. The face you have is already the face you want. These 7 changes just let it read that way from the outside. If this gave you something real and immediately usable, give it a like and subscribe to Style After 60 for more of this every single week. And tell me in the comments, which of these 7 changes surprised you most? Which one are you trying the moment you close this video? I read every single comment, and I genuinely want to know which one makes the difference for you today.